Hi guys, Timmy here doing another military review, and this time will be, and a part history of the Wipers Times. Now, if you don't know what the Wipers Times is, the Wipers Times date back to 1916 and came up by a guy who was in the Nottingham Derbyshire Regiment, the Sherwood Foresters, 12th Battalion Sherwood Foresters. A guy called F.J. Roberts, and he was the company commander, or the battalion commander, yeah. And basically in 1916 they were not battling, but just at the front of Ypres in Belgium, and they had gone to the small little village in Ypres, Ypres in Belgium, that little village, and actually come across an old printing press. And funnily enough, one of the guys was actually in civilian life a printer. So what they did is you know for morale boosting and taking the fun out of the commanding officers and and officers and people like that, hierarchy, they would actually come up with a kind of basically a newspaper, which, as I said, would take the mickey out of the commanding officers, the hierarchy, the generals. Tell you a bit about how the war is progressing at the moment. Tells you jokes, different funny stories, different it's just little jokes basically. And it's, of course, where they were at the time, 1916, which was at the front of Ypres. It was known as the Wipers Times because Wiper was the British nickname of Ypres. Wipers, or Yipers, or Wipers, or Ypres. So basically Y, W, Y, Pers. So yeah. Ypres, in Belgium. But yeah, the British nickname for Ypres, or the Battle of Ypres, Wipers. But yeah, it's very rare to find an original 1916 or 17 or 1916 copy. Sadly, as you can see, there's no gloves on me because sadly this is photocopied of a mate of mine who has a 1930s original reprint. So I'd love to get my hands on one of those, but no. But yeah, very rare to find a 1916 original First World War Wipers Times. But yeah, wherever they were, like then that was early 1916. Then they got called up to go to the most famous place in France, northern France, the Somme. So then they changed it from the Wipers Times to the Somme Times. And there were little songs going along, little jokes. It was a lot. Some hierarchy, generals, officers liked it. Most of them didn't, of course. But yeah, of course, F.J. Roberts and his men were getting a lot of not really a lot of stick, but quite famous in his day. And there was actually a hardback book done of this about 1920s. I think 1930, something like that. But yeah, very famous. But yep, they went from the Somme. Yep, then in 1917 they went back to Ypres. So it's changed from the Somme Times again to the Wipers Times. Then in November 1918, as the war was coming to the end, they named it the Better Times because making it better. Then of course November the 11th, 1918, at 11 o'clock the armistice was signed. Well, the armistice piece of paper was signed at about 5 to 10, really. But 11 o'clock it officially ended. So yeah, then suddenly the Wipers or the Better or the Sometimes was no more, until they reprinted it in 1930. But yes, I'll just get them out actually. Sadly they aren't original, but this is photocopies from an original newspaper. Yeah. But yeah, what's this one? You got the Wipers Times again. That's another version of the Wipers Times. All they have is like the BEF, the British Expeditionary Force Gazette. You know, you have in Flanders Field. It's a little kind of poem, basically. You have notes. You've got facing the front, things like that. You know. You've got this one, as I showed you on the front. You've got another Wipers Times. As you say, these are from 1930s ones there. And this one, I'm going to say about, this is going to be a 1917, because that famous picture, or well, actually the Wipers Times, yeah, I'll say 1917, the Battle of Passchendaele, or the Third Battle of Ypres. Wipers, which occurred on the 31st of July 1917, yeah, 31st of July 1917 to November the 11th, 1917. But yeah, there's that one. And then there's this one actually is the actual front cover of it. So yeah, the Wipers Times came up in early 1916 when the 12th Battalion of the Sherwood Forsters, or the Nottingham and Derbyshire Regiment, commanded by a guy called F.J. Roberts, came up with this brilliant idea of a daily newspaper where they were stationed, you know, in the front of Ypres. But yeah, and sadly I'd love to get my hands on an original 1916 one copy, or even that Orba Mate's 1930s redone copy, reprinted. But yeah, this is really as close as I will get. So yeah, thanks for watching guys, and see you guys.